Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Cemeteries buried beneath the ground. A deadly thread in a web that snares the town. Steady is the dread that tears them down. Ancient like old bones measured and buried in volts. Colder than low blood pressure and barely a pulse. Visions of past loved ones, is it really my folks? It's clearly a hoax. It's merely a joke. It's eerily cloaked, but fearfully close. My hands won't stop shaking, I'm barely composed. My past keeps replaying, I'm carrying ghosts. With the plans to escape and I'm terribly close. Digging deep for the truth. I might as well use these shackles and chains to pull the trees from the roots. If I don't, the man in yellow's pulling teeth from the roots. I'm counting bullets for the sheep and the troops. That's grief in the booth. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Tap that like on your way in. Let's get right into this review. Victor is still being inconsistent. Fatima's vital signs ain't vital signing. Henry's on an acid trip, and the acid trip is telling him that he went on an acid trip. Sophia's just waltzing in people's crib like she's the maintenance person just so she could bring back old Yeller McNasty. Christy is out here dressed like Storywalker Fred with the Mario get-up pulling rank on her girlfriend. If Kenny sees this, he'll probably be sitting in the back biding his time. Nah, but let's get into it for real. Let's start with Victor. First off, Victor stated again that the first time he saw the boy in white was after the massacre. But how is that still true if you claim to have seen the boy in white with Christopher in the church basement? In season 3, Victor said that he'd overheard a conversation between Christopher and the boy in white, and that's how he got the information about the kids in the tower. And because of this information, he blamed himself for his mother and his sister's deaths, even though Miranda knew about the kids in the tower before she even got to Frumlin, according to Henry. Tabitha arrives at Henry's house with his son's lunchbox talking about a place where people are stuck. His son is still alive, and he doesn't even believe her until she explicitly mentions the kids in the tower. The kids being in the tower was the one thing that magically made him believe her, and then he sent the cops away. This means that Victor told his mother information that she already knew. And the funny thing is, neither Tabitha nor Henry has even said to Victor, hey man, don't blame yourself. Your mother already knew about the kids in the tower before you came to this place. It wasn't your fault. I mean, why hasn't that happened yet? Tabitha stood right in Victor's bedroom and saw the peach-bordered wallpaper, and she didn't even mention saying anything about his mother's paintings, bottle trees, or the man in yellow being in her painting. Even though she's right there in the peach truck where Victor has pasted labels from the peach cans in the same border pattern that we saw in his room. And Tabitha was right there when they found the yellow suit, and it's almost as if she's forgotten all about the paintings. And with all of that, it's kind of crazy that Boyd is the only one that seems to be following this thread of the man in the yellow suit. He's got people down there looking for artifacts that may give him some information about them. But one of the worst moves this season by Boyd was not telling Henry about the reincarnation before he heard about old Yeller eating his wife, going into a drunken tailspin, and ending up in the bar getting Sophia's Clamato juice. If he would have told Henry about the reincarnation situation when they were in the post office, that would have been a lot better, because then Henry may have been more receptive to it. And the reason why Henry isn't receptive to the ideal is because of Sophia. If he would have had that information before she got to him, his wife's visions and artwork would have made so much sense to him. But even though he slowed down on the drinking, he is still under the influence of Sophia's blood. And when he first came into the bar and talked to Bhakta about helping out at the diner, I wonder if it was something trying to help Henry believe the reincarnation situation. The song Blue coming on the diner radio made him remember the very last time he heard that song with Tabitha in the car. Maybe something was trying to push Henry in the right direction. I mean, the first time we saw the radio present that record was back in season 1, but they made a point to only show us Henry's memory of hearing it with Tabitha. So it wasn't about bringing that song to us to show us and remind us that this is the song that Tabitha and Jim shared together. It was more about the incident in the car and kind of letting Henry know that there is a connection between Miranda. Maybe that's what it was trying to jog his memory on. Because when you think about the visions that Sophia is giving him about this care facility and a Victor with a son, everything is almost in total opposite. But it uses elements that were actually in Henry's house to make him think that his reality was some sort of hallucination or drug-induced coma. And I think that the visions he's having with this nurse that looks like the ballerina telling him to forcibly disconnect from the anchor could be one of two things. Either she's telling him to delete himself or Victor. And this would be the new version of the kill the boy message. Perhaps Sarah went after the wrong boy. Perhaps she was supposed to go after Victor. We know that Old Yeller was the voice on the radio, Thomas on the phone, which was confirmed this episode, and we've seen Sophia send voices right to Sarah in that house. So that same entity, man in yellow, Sophia, whatever you want to call it, was probably what gave her those marks on her arm in the diner and told her to kill the boy. And she might have assumed that it was Ethan. Maybe the boy was Victor all along, and Henry will try to take out Victor so he can get back to this false half-life that he has. I mean, Mary said that everyone dies in this place, stays there, and the nurse who looks like the ballerina is straight up asking him if he wants to stay. Not to mention that ballerina figure is in the diner with him as he falls into this trance. I mean, the part of the ballerina doctor or nurse telling him to forcibly disconnect, that does happen to him while he's at the grave of Miranda and Eloise, but we'll see. And I don't know, it's not looking too good for Eloise. We'll talk about that later. Another thing about Victor in The Boy in White is that third instruction he gave. I wonder what that was. Way back in season 2, I did an Ethan the Shaman series where I pointed out the different ways that Victor was passing down or initiating Ethan to be the next shaman. The passing down of the staff in season 1, I also predicted that Victor might give him a jacket as well, and then that happened in season 2. And now we see Victor giving Ethan the stone that he used to open the peach cans. And my first thought was, I wonder if this stone is made from the same talisman material. It definitely has that color to it, and it could have served as a talisman the whole time with Victor not even knowing it. I mean, because how else was he hiding? If he was hiding inside of this peach truck, then, you know, what was keeping the monsters from just opening the peach truck up? Maybe the rock that he has served as some sort of talisman. I don't know. He did say that the boy in white is who brought him to that peach truck. And it just kind of made me wonder, didn't anybody know about the peach truck before the massacre happened? Or did the peach truck just magically appear afterwards? I mean, if, you know, Victor and his family was stuck there and you had other people there at the same time, I'm sure somebody would have been eating peaches up in that motherfucker. And I wonder who's the artist responsible for the drawings in the peach truck. It definitely doesn't look like Victor's work. And speaking of Victor's work, the coloring of Old Yeller McNasty is waving at him. And remember, we saw the boy in white waving at Victor in the aftermath of the massacre. Now, I'm just wondering if that's more evidence of Victor's faulty memory. I mean, we know that both the boy in white and Old Yeller were both at that location. And Victor says that the first time he saw the boy in white was at that massacre, but we know that not to be true if he's seen him in the church basement with Christopher. So did he really see the boy in white after the massacre, or did he see the man in yellow? The man in yellow was most certainly there eating the liver that we saw Julie encounter him during her story walk. So was that really who he saw? And he just thinks he saw the boy in white. because why is this picture waving at him? And this picture also looks like he's carrying a child. And this reminds me of something else that shows up in this episode, and that's Ellis's drawing of what appears to be two men carrying children. The men both look like Puritans and have the ruffled collars. I've spoken about this before, but Victor drawing the man in yellow carrying a child in the same way as Ellis's drawing that actually shows up in this episode makes me kind of wonder. I wonder if that child could be Eloise and Victor is remembering that which he's forgotten. I mean, I hope we don't get a flashback of old Yeller eating Eloise, but we know that this show is definitely not afraid to show us something happening to a kid. Just ask little Megan. And speaking of goners, I think Fatima might be a goner. I mean, how is she gonna come back from 53/33 blood pressure and a 19 beat per minute heart rate? It's not looking too good for her. It looks like she might be turning into a slow walker. And if that's the case, many of you were correct. You even said that last season. Besides the connection to Smiles Davis, it was obvious that this place wasn't done with Fatima. And it turns out that being a surrogate mother for a demonic nightmare town isn't as cut as dry as just giving birth and going on about your business. I mean, you got Patty up at Colony House looking like the Phantom of the Opera, residents in the house not feeling safe. Nobody really knows what happened to Fatima, Elgin, or Tilly, but they might find out soon. You got Henry on some real-time bullshit, and he lives up there at Colony House. There's a door to the caves in the basement, and the last thing Colony House needs is to find out that Fatima's changing into the lumpy space princess with purple stretch marks. I mean, it's all crazy, but you definitely got to give it up to Christy for keeping her cool when she was taking Fatima's vitals. Marielle thought that Christy was calling her into the hallway for some smoke, but I'm sure we can all agree that Fatima might not even be alive anymore. I mean, it's not possible to have 19 heartbeats per minute, especially if you walking around entertaining the idea of using your newfound powers. You up there building the golem. Who knows how long Fatima's vitals were like that, especially if the connection was already there. I don't know. Maybe they could heal her. Maybe if they find this Lake of Tears or whatever, it's almost like they just forgot about the Lake of Tears since it didn't work on the bird. Ethan was just like, fuck the Lake of Tears. I'm going to end up here by myself. I mean, Marielle did say that this could be a temporary side effect, but I don't know. I mean, I broke it down about the comparisons of Storywalker Fred and Super Mario, and now we get Christy in the plumber's jumper. Go check out my episode 4 breakdown for that reference. I'm talking about warp drains, faraway trees, Jade and Mario's magic mushrooms, saving the princess from the tower, more connections. I'll leave that link to the video in the description. Then you got Jade's reference to a hot air balloon, and that could be a double play on Lost and The Wizard of Oz, which it would fit right in with the many references to both of those scattered throughout the whole series. The last episode was 407, and that's pretty much our 47 episode. And if you've been following this channel since season 2, then you know I've been pointing out all the possible connections to 9/11 and 47 for some time. The connections to real world events with the Trump shooting attempts, their dates, and now we're getting episode 408 on Trump's actual birth date. And that just happens to be another 7/4, which adds up to 11 as well. Trump has even floated jokes and talks about him running for a third term. He even has sold Trump 2028 merchandise on his official merch site. And if you watch my videos and my live streams, you probably heard me say that we'll probably get at least one hidden reference to Trump. And if we did, you know that I'd be the one to point it out for you. Even though some of us would say that the hot air balloon reference was a reference to Trump, that wasn't it. It was the reference Boyd made right before that, the military term shooting gallery. Trump and Giuliani referred to Chicago as a shooting gallery back in 2016 during the RNC gathering in Cleveland. And the shooting gallery line stood out to me because Boyd explains it as a trap with one way in and one way out. But that's not usually how the term is used. In military or tactical lingo, a shooting gallery usually means exposed targets moving through a space where they can be easily hit, not a space with only one entrance and exit. But Boyd's version made my mind go elsewhere, right to public housing, controlled access, and certain ways that projects were redesigned to actually create these so-called shooting galleries. And a lot of the testing and research was done in Chicago. The projects became test sites and experiment dishes for HUD-funded studies. The one entrance, one exit effort in Chicago public housing was part of a larger controlled access and public housing security movement. Officially, it was called Defensible Space. But projects like Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor Homes, and others were remodeled into this one entrance exit design through the 70s into the mid-90s. Even Murphy Homes in Baltimore, Cochran Homes in St. Louis, and others around the country also adapted this single exit design that actually increased crime and turf wars over the decades. So Boyd calling a shooting gallery a one entrance exit situation and that not being right, coupled with the whole one entrance exit situation that was actually tested and studied on the projects. I guess that's why they call them the projects. And then you have Trump actually noting Chicago when he talks about shooting galleries. And this isn't the first time I noticed Trump connections in Boyd's character. In his speech outside of the diner when they were searching for Fatima, he stated that he had beaten this place before when he found the talismans, and he needed the people's help to prove that they could beat this place again by finding Fatima. And that echoes Trump's rhetoric in 2024 when he was talking about how he had won the election in 2016 and he had needed the people's help to win again in 2024. Also, an attempt was made on Boyd's life with Reggie being the gunman that was taken down, which of course mirrors the attempt on Trump on July 13th, which July being a 7 and the 13th being a 4, along with the shooter being the name Thomas Matthew, just like Jim and Tabitha's son. I mean, you can check out this video for some of those connections right here. But shout out to my homie Taryn Matthew again, because more of his theory has been showing up with each episode. Last episode, the travelers were sent on a treasure hunt, which I said would happen when Victor had dug up the suitcase last year. I thought that was our treasure hunt, but last episode, our travelers were sent on a hunt in the basement and in the diner, which we see them looking through the artifacts now. But this episode really shines through with something Taryn had been talking about since season 2 with his introduction John Cabot theory, which has expanded very much. However, the son of John Cabot is also in Taryn's theory, and it is something he's been talking about for a while now. And we have Henry dreaming about a grandson named Sebastian, which is the name of John Cabot's son. The brother Taryn thought that we would actually see these characters appear on the show, but I have been telling them that it will continue to show up through the symbolism. And the symbolism is actually how these things are often going to be revealed. But I thought this was a big one since Taryn has been talking about John Cabot and his son since I've known him. And we have more Vesica Pisces symbolism showing up in Victor's room. And I noticed this lamp before, but it's showing up right after Ragdoll Roger with the eggs is definitely worth mentioning. Also, Rendezvous has shown up in every single episode this season. And I hope that that means that we get something pertaining to them, or at least some sort of background noise. I mean, Rendezvous was in every episode that they told us to watch before season 4 started. So I wonder if we'll get any information about Rendezvous this season. I mean, we've only got 2 episodes left. And with only 2 episodes left of season 4, it has definitely been a wild ride. I expect the last 2 episodes to really turn up, and I can't wait. Even though it's been bittersweet every time we come to a season finale, I mean, I definitely can't wait for the season finale. I mean, you get the season finale, but you also, it's the end of the show, and there is no show coming next week after that. So yeah, it's always bittersweet when that happens. It would really be dope to get From season 5 next year for 2027. You know, 20 plus 27 equal 47. So that would really be dope if they could pull that off and get that done. Anyway, if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff for me and share this video with somebody that watches the show. If you aren't subscribed yet, hopefully this will be the video that makes you do it. That's all for the video this evening. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.